Back at it. Let's go. Alright, so just sitting here thinking, you know, gotta do a live. Ain't been doing lives too much. Been working, running, trying to make this little money. But oh yeah, I still ain't sent my invoices out. Going into it, man. Plain and simple. Save, budget. I laid off the election, but this is the thing. In my opinion, whoever you voted for, it shouldn't change your stance. I mean, I've seen so many crazy videos of women and men all yelling and screaming, talking about who they voted for, and if you voted for the other side, don't talk to them, it's an issue. I've literally seen people divorcing their wives and husbands over this election. It's like, man, it couldn't be that serious, man. Like, honestly speaking, America is already in turmoil. Interest rate is high, inflation is high, but yet we're being divided in our household over election. I mean, this is where it's getting crazy. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, like, what are we actually really doing? I mean, I don't understand. Like I said, whoever becomes president, right here in my household, how's that going to affect me? For one, I'm a driver. So, different industries may close, but others still going to be open. Tamika, what's going on? At the end of the day, I'm going to be good. I drive. I'm not saying that it's bad for other people. Like my wife, she works in data entry. So she could switch around and move and get another job too. But at the same time, what's stopping us from budgeting in our household? Shout out to everybody coming in, hit that like. What's going on? Temp Supreme, good morning to you, sir. What's going on? The things that's going on in the political race, yeah, it do hit home a little bit for people. But you got to understand this. How's that affecting you right now? You still going to work. Just because Trump became president, if you voted for him, you didn't get a day off. If Kamala would have came president, would you have got a day off? Well, I'm going to rephrase that. VP Harris. Because, shout out to Alonzo Hall. Alonzo says, we need to be more formal. Even though people do call Trump Donald, start calling her by her last name Harris. Hillary was the same way. Nobody called her Clinton mostly. Everybody called her Hillary. But, when it comes down to it, that's some things that, we're used to doing. So it's kind of hard to break you out of that mode. And, society is changing and everything. Lala, what's going on? But, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not really changing your job, not really changing your income. But, more or less with me, like I talk about saving and financing and feelings and emotion, it's a lot of depressed people out here. It's a lot of issues which they making it worse during this election. It's like you draw a line in the sand and you have to pick a side. And when you pick the side, hopefully you pick the right side, because other people are going to treat you according to what side you choose. Me and my co-workers, we all joke and laugh with each other. And, I was telling one of my other co-workers, I was like, man, I ought to wear a Trump hat, make America great again. So I get one of these old guys, get on me. Because this guy from Mississippi, it's two places in the United States, in my opinion, are the two racist states in America by far, and that is Alabama and Mississippi. Mississippi might be a little bit worse than Alabama, a little bit more worse, because I've moved furniture, so I've actually been to several states. I've actually, traveled all the United States except Hawaii, the new states coming in, in the islands of Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever. But in Alaska, I was gonna go to Alaska one time, but ended up coming back, had some work to do. But the thing is this: when it comes down, Joy, what's going on? When it comes down to it, I knew he was gonna be upset with me wearing that hat. But at the same time, though, it's not like I'm really pushing for Trump all the way. Like I'm a Republican, I'm a diehard. This made me want to look at being an independent because how crazy these people get. I'm really not for too many. Your views make you lean certain ways. Certain people's views, actually, they don't understand. Their views make them Republican, even though they vote or say they Democrat. So when it comes down to it, yeah, I'm good, Joy. How about yourself? But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, focusing on what really matters is your household, your livelihood, the way you move. And that's why I try to keep my channel more focused on the aspect of mental health. Shout out to Shay Love. Shay Love, I always saying get enough sleep. Mental clarity, I noticed, man, ever since this tooth been messing with me, I've actually talked kind of different, but especially when I say words. But a lot of mental clarity, and when it comes down to it, the focus on yourself to be better, man. Not letting too much outside influence get to you. And that's the biggest issue with a lot of people nowadays. A lot of outside influence has gotten to them. There's no reason why this election should have people getting divorces. There's no reason why this election is actually having people, pick a side, like understanding. I'm all for women's rights. Me and my friend had a big, talk about this. He's married, I'm married. But when it comes down to it, like I told my friend, it shouldn't be that you're using an abortion clinic as birth control. That's one thing. That's not right. And to have sex is something that adults do, but at the same time, I do believe a woman should have a choice, especially, by far in the whole situation of incest or, someone being taken advantage of. I strictly don't condone that. Like, there's no reason why a woman should be able to keep that child and go through the ordeal with that. That I strongly disagree with that. But at the same time, powers that be want to handle situations different, which I don't agree with. But at the same time, why are we not looking at other alternatives? And deeply into that situation, I just look at getting back into getting married, dealing with people who you truly like and love. It eliminates all that. A lot of times, man, prime example, me and my wife, we talked. I didn't have kids before I met her at 25. A lot of my friends had kids. Out of the group, I think it's probably, 2-3 of us that didn't have kids. All the rest of the dudes, they were popping out kids left and right. Even when I got married to my wife, I didn't have my kids to after about 11. So 4 years, about 3-4 years, I say about 3-4 years of being with my wife before I had my twins. And you don't really get to know nobody until you actually, stay with them, live with them, deal with ordeals, go through situations. That's when you truly know a person, when you're going through situations. Snuggles going on. When you go through situations, that's when you know a person. So, like I said, a lot of emotions up and down in this. Like I said, for as Trump in his situation, where he stands, what's going on, Dr. Dunbar? Big discussions. And my biggest thing is, why are we getting the government to the point of us, like, it's already bad out here. I just recently talked to one of my friends. He did like a 90-day fiance thing. Dude was married for 90 days. His wife, not saying it's really her fault, but his wife's mother played a big part in their divorce. And this is going into the politics of what we talk about as men and women nowadays. She had a child, one child, and it got to the point where I'm like, man, you got one child, and yet you're fighting with a man who wants to be with you because your mother is having situations with him. So he couldn't deal with the mother. He loved the woman, couldn't deal with the mother, and she wouldn't speak up for herself, speak up for him. And it was ultimately like he was married to the mother and her. So it got to a point to where it really wasn't, not convenient, but the math wasn't math. I told him, I said, you shouldn't have to fight the world and come home and fight in your household. Now, if your mother-in-law chooses to stay with you and you guys are married, there's some rules in the house that y'all need to have, and she need to let her mom know the rules or you leave. I mean, just plain as that. And he was like, that's what I did. Because I'm like, when you get married, that's prime example with me. My wife, when I got married, my wife wasn't coming at me saying how, my mom is saying. She would tell me her mom says stuff, but ultimately she's not, I'm picking my mom's side. I would have left because it's unhealthy to be married to two women and not having sex with them. It's unhealthy to be married to multiple people like that. You got different emotions. I mean, nothing against for the polygamous crowd. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But when it comes down to it, you have that under control because that's what you put yourself in. Dr. Dunbar, people say that, but at the same time, with me, I don't just marry the family. I mean, I'm marrying the woman. When it comes down to it, if me and that woman have an understanding, we can go live on a desert by ourselves. Because at the end of the day, what are we doing together? We're creating our own family. I tell my wife that sometimes because she always feels like she has to go, deal with her family because she has a nice sized family. They communicate well. They're always together. And I love the family, but I tell her sometimes, let's have Thanksgiving at our house. Let's have something here. Let's create our own tradition. There's nothing wrong with going to your family house sometime, but I'm not going for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Why? How? Why do we need to entertain it? So when it comes down to it, creating your own traditions, that's what matters. I married a woman, I deal with the family. That's a big difference. in my book. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you know, I don't have nothing wrong with my wife family, good people. We have like little issues and we work through it. But at the end of the day, they not my all. They're not going to control anything in my house. If I let them control something in my house, they might as well run my house. They might as well tell me my money. That's my coworker messing me behind me. They might as well tell me what to do. They might as well, run the kids, tell me my budget for my house. And, on the channel, I talk about budgeting a lot. And, I mean, big on that. And that was one of the things I wanted to get on here and talk about, too. Was the whole thing with Social Security. That was one of the biggest issues me and my wife was having with her mainly, with the voting and thinking about what if Trump takes away our Social Security? And I'm like, okay, well, what's bad about that? Well, how are we going to retire, this and that? I said, well, we have a plan set. We have to keep sticking to our plan, saving and investing. Figure mama's going on. And also, they've been taking Social Security from us all this time. What do you think they're going to do with that money? Because they made the money off the interest, off of putting that money in the bank and letting it compound. They're going to give the money back, and we're going to fend for ourselves. They got to get money from somewhere else to fund all these projects and all these people in government that they've been using that money for. And I say, what we're going to do? Take that money that they give us, put it in a mutual fund or something like that to get a return. Why sit here and worry about Social Security? Prime example. I just did a short video about this earlier, and I'm going to speak on this. So my friend, older guy, he was supposed to get $4,500 because he was in a high industry, got paid well. He was supposed to get $4,500 a month. That's a pretty decent chunk. But because he was married, he get $3,500. And when it came down to it, he got $3,500. His wife got $1,200 because she had a bad hip. So they went on and gave her disability and kicked in with the Social Security, mixed them up. So she was getting that. She was in a low-paying industry. She was a caregiver. I wouldn't say low-paying industry, but it's not a high earning. Just, I say mid-level, but, and she was getting $1,200. And the crazy part of it is, when you hit 70, that's when you really get your full benefits. I've been doing the research, looking about this. Retiring at 63 or 67, you don't get your full money until you turn 70. And I found out that they take the last 5 highest paid amounts that you earn each year and try to configure that to get your Social Security number. So I know I need to make a whole lot more money in order for me to, get that number up so I can get that money. Higher whip. So when it comes down to it, knowing that I need to make a lot more money to get a lot more in Social Security, that's the biggest thing. And they said it take at least 35 years. So you have to be working for at least 35 years for them to take advantage of the range of Social Security. Most people are trying to retire at 55 or something around in there. So, that's the ticket. If you're going to retire at 55, wait till 63 or something like that to get your money. What's going on, Uncle Carl? What's going on? Oh, man, this guy. So when it comes down to it, uh, a lot of times people who try to retire early, I'm back on track. A lot of people who try to retire early, you know, they deal with complications. A lot of people who try to go into the business of saving, you need a lot of money. You gotta either do it yourself, which is gonna be a problem, or you have to deal with a financial advisor. I have somebody getting it's funny. A financial advisor to guide you. Oh, community zone. Seen that person a long time. But advise you on how to save your money. And that's the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm learning this whole process as I'm going along. I'm teaching my kids this. I want my boys by the time they be 18 to be ready for life. I already have them. Oh, speaking of the person, Alonzo was going. Man, I'm gonna have to put this thing on Do Not Disturb when I get on live. I literally got somebody just messing with me. What's going on, Alonzo? But this is my thing. I'm trying to have my kids ready for life. Right now they're 13, about to be 14, and next year. Next year gonna be 14, going into high school. So I want to have them ready, have certain keys to where it's accessible for them. Teaching them this knowledge now will have them so much prepared for life. Do you know what most kids that are in how-to-do houses, upward neighborhoods, they're learning uh ROIs, return on investment. They're learning this stuff in the housing market. They're learning this stuff in business and industries. They had a school where kids were learning how to do Airbnb. They gave them the option of buying a house, renting a house, and doing the Airbnb. All the kids wanted to rent the house because there's no risk. The landlord would fix anything. They don't have to fix anything. The landlord fix it. But, they get minimum returns. It's not like you're getting paid hella money, but you're getting enough money to handle the job and do the business. And at the end of the day, they're like, man, like, this is a good thing. They had a kid who was, 14 years old. He's doing YouTube. The 14-year-old kid doing YouTube, his main thing that he focused on? Buying homes in small rural areas like Tennessee that are going to be, in the next couple of years, be the next wave that people come to small towns in Chattanooga. I think it's 3 hours away from Atlanta. Um, Nashville, you got Nashville, you got Knoxville small, but you got Nashville and Memphis are the two biggest cities in Tennessee, in my opinion. Um, you got small towns, Murfreesboro is small, Knoxville is small, in my opinion, but Knoxville got a lot of things around there, Dollywood and all that stuff. I appreciate that, Dr. Dunbar. I try because, like I said, my dad had a lot of stuff set up for me, but never got the chance to break a lot of this stuff down and unpackage because my father passed. But, as my sister told me about, my dad spoke 7 different languages. He was in the military. He spoke 7 different languages. He actually started trusts and wheels and business and everything. He had all this stuff set up, and this was like in the 80s. Like, my dad died in the 80s. So he was very knowledgeable. I say that, man, if my dad was just pushing around me, my life would be a whole lot different, industry wise. But, we deal with the cards that we have. And at the same time, that empowered me to knowing that how my dad was and me being the person I am and all my uncles, coaches, and everybody around me, I got some shoes to fill. So that put me in the mindset of being more responsible and doing things for my kids, getting them ready for life. So if it takes me learning the knowledge and pushing it on to them, if it takes me, being in these industries, it's gonna make things better. So at the end of the day, that's why I always tell Alonzo, hey Alonzo, put down the cigarette. Let me get my finger up here so you can see it. Put down the cigarette on the line, man. And on top of that, man, hey, the cursing to a minimum, because I do make them watch your videos. You know, Dr. Dunbar, they have watched the video with us on there too as well. And I'm showing one of my sons who wants to do like gaming. I show him all your channels. I say, look, man, this guy, Big Discussion 76, look how many channels he have. Look at all the things that he's doing on these channels. I'm like, you got to start somewhere. These channels are not channels that just say, man, I'm going to just throw 5, whatever channels out and, let it be. Like, you know certain things about these channels that you're putting out, and you're giving people information, and that's what I try to push with my kids. Like I said, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, yeah, sorry about that. As one of my co-workers, I gotta run up here and grab something for him real quick. I owe him some change. But like I said, when it comes down to it, April Showers morning to you. When it comes down to it, a lot of times we have a lot of situations in which we gotta unpackage for not only just our kids but the community. Shout out to Alonzo when we were having a discussion the other day, and we were talking about paying taxes into the community and stuff like that. Prince Pierre was saying how, he don't like paying all these taxes for this and stuff, and he don't have kids. But the biggest thing is this. A lot of times, your taxes go towards programs that help these kids in this community. So if, to a degree, these kids aren't doing right, these kids aren't doing good, it's going to fall back on what? The community. You don't have programs set up to help these kids thrive, what are they going to be doing? You're going to be one of these kids' next victim. When you have situations to where these kids are not being in programs, sports, after school programs, being able to read, write, we're going to be your next statistic that goes out and, harms you. They're going to be one of these little kids that meet you in a dark alley or on a back street or in the morning when you get ready to start your car. They're going to be taking your wallet. So you have to prepare yourself for something like that crazy if it ever pops up. And when it comes down to it, this is why I try to inform my kids. I try to teach my kids more or less. One of my sons, he's wrestling right now, so man, I'm loving it. Like, that's my sport. So I'm putting my kids in the mindset of, hey, do the right thing. And especially my son who's wrestling, I'm showing him, like, look, this is hard work, dedication, teamwork, effort, and you're going to see why your father the way he is according to how he do things. You're going to see why your father focused more on, making you be responsible and owning up and being a man. Hey, if you did something, own up to it. If you're in a situation, make yourself, be responsible and make yourself, own up to your mistakes. And if you do something, hey, just know. I'm trying to get this money for this card. At the end of the day, let's say you do something wrong and you get caught. police, school, whatever. Own up to your mistakes. Own up for what you did. You know, be responsible. When it comes down to it, why don't most people, you know, have their situation to where their parents or whomever raised them influence them in being a, you know, kinder, more gentle, but better person? You know, being responsible. Yes, I've did these things I wasn't proud of, but in the end, hey. But with all that being said, I'm just running my mouth a little bit. Let me go ahead and jump off here. I gotta hit this bank anyway. Shout out to y'all coming through. Alonzo, hey man, I'm sorry I aired you out like that, man, but it's out of love, man. It's out of love. I want to see you do great. I want to see you be great. Builder's table, hey man, I want to see you on my live. All right, Gold P. I'll let you. You know what I always say, man. We here, we gone. Peace.